So we have about a 40-acre chunk of this part of the property that we've just been wanting to improve really bad. And the first thing we came back here to check today is this food plot, this clover. It's about a little over a quarter an acre, maybe a half an acre of a clover plot. And I thought we were gonna have to reseed the heck out of it, but you come back here in the last week, all this clover popped, and we got a couple little grass patches in here that I think all we got to do is come in here with some grass killer and spray them, and this clover is gonna take off. This is a part of our property where we don't have a lot of winter food, so there's not a lot of winter deer in here. We've had a camera up here for 3 weeks now. 2 weeks, there's no animals on the camera. And as soon as this clover pops and the spring pops, day by day, we're starting to see more stuff on the camera. It's really cool. We're gonna start seeing turkey and deer swarm this plot when it greens up first, because it's gonna green up first over everything. Everything is just starting here. Probably the earliest spring we've ever had or we can remember. And this plot looks really good. I'm actually floored with how good it looks. I thought it was gonna need more work than this. But on the flip side of that, we got a little nice food in here and we need some cover. We have pretty mature timber up on this whole ridge, this backside of our property, and we've been saying for years it's just kind of been dead. There's just not a lot going on because the canopy is mature and there's just no cover underneath. So we're coming in here this spring, and a neighbor is going to help us log about, I don't know, 20 or 30 acres of the property. We're going to walk back and show you what we're talking about, but it's going to open up the canopy, let in some sunlight, and the tops are going to create immediate cover for the deer to be able to hold and lay in there. And then as the years go by, the next 5 years, everything's just going to get thick and start growing, regrowth, new trees, new browse for the deer, and it's just going to be great nesting for turkey. That's our sort of management plan for this part of the property. It's going to improve the heck out of it, giving it food and cover. When we did it 20 years ago, it always held good deer, and it's time to reset the forest. We got to reset, and that's what we're going to do here. I'm really looking forward to it because it's been tough to hunt this part of the property the last few years. It just hasn't been holding the deer, so looking forward to the reboot. Get some more bucks in here. I mean, this specific spot, you can just see, like, scan through the woods. You can just see the dark logs everywhere. All it is vertical stuff, and you can see far on the forest floor, so there's no benefit for the deer to be here, like at least spring, summer, early fall. They run up here during the rut, but they're not holding up here. There's no cover on the ground to lay down on. Any of these dead stuff on the ground is just remaining tops from 15, 20 years ago. So we need to create some structure in here. We need to create some cover, let some sunlight in here. And the only way to do that is to take your big logs out, and we're at the time to do that. Our timber prices are up a little bit, and if we wait too much longer, we're gonna start losing logs on these trees because they're just gonna get too mature and start dying on the inside. So it's a perfect time to do it. Perfect time to do it. But there are some big ones in here, at least for cherry. It's a big log, I mean. I can't even really come close to getting my arms around that. That's mature. You almost feel weird just being someone who loves wildlife cutting it down. But actually you can see, especially this cherry, when they get to a certain size, this is almost too big because it's going to start dying on the inside. And you can see it's got some dead branches up there already. This log might not really be good inside. But that's a huge tree, so you want to get your investment out of it still. But I love seeing big trees. It's cool. It's awesome. But that one might be too big. She might be dead on the inside. She might have a cold heart. Old Bessie right here. But I know there's quite a few around that are solid lumber. One other cool thing is we've always wanted a little bit of food back here. And you can see we kind of opened this up in years past. Tried to grow some clover up here, but there's just so much canopy. It's hard to get any good sunlight in here, but we might be able to open it up now if they're coming back here to log. And we'll have to take out a few more trees, see if they can uproot the stumps. And we might be able to put, you know, a little 1/8 to 1/4 acre of food up here, which could be really beneficial, surrounded by tops. Could be a killer ridgetop spot.
Put this thing up to my truck and do like 90 down Metal Hill till it falls off. Let's see if I can look it over. I'll just take the back road and see how far I made it down till 30. We've got out around the turn. Well, just got done brush hogging all the corn. Probably like 2.5 acres worth of corn. Ready to be disked up and start preparing the ground to plant it again. I think what we're gonna do this year is plant. So we stopped the beans. You can kind of see where we stopped them right here. This is where the corn started. We're gonna actually continue the beans. Probably another 60 or 70 yards up into this corn, because what we found, at least earlier in the season, the deer would kind of just conjugate on that lower end of the field, where if we do this, it'll give them a reason to feed up and pass the blind and in bow range. And then all this is going to be corn again. I mean, it worked out too well. This whole field being grain held a lot of deer in here, fed a lot of deer, and can't say that we didn't have our opportunities. We just passed them up, passed them up and didn't, because gump shoulda, coulda, woulda been dead in here in October. But that's hunting. Just one of the few chores for today. Anybody who followed us throughout last year, you guys remember this view. And as I was saying down there, what we found is, especially early season, the deer held up, you know, kind of at the 50-60 yard mark down in the lower portion of that field. And they just didn't feel compelled to feed up here because there wasn't a lot of room. Once they got to the corn, if they did feed up here, they fed and they crossed at the far end of the plot, because we had some turnips on the other side of the corn. So this year we're gonna have the beans extend all the way up past the blind another, like I said, probably 50-60 yards or so. Suck them in, coax them. Come on, walk past the blind and walk up here. Walk past the blind and walk up here. Really good setup though. I mean, this spot was awesome. It produced a lot of cool hunts, got a lot of cool encounters up here, and we're hoping that we can actually shoot something come this fall. I think we will. I think we're gonna have a shot at something early on, because this was so heavily used early in the season while the beans were still green. That first week or so of October, the deer were just piled in here. So we'll see. All right, you guys, well, we're back at this clover plot where we were at yesterday, kind of checking it out and making a little bit of a plan. And I came back in here with the grass out, and I'm going to spray this plot right now just as the clover is coming up, because you can see these little patches of like thick grass in here. And if we can kill all that right now, we're going to overseed it after, so it'll kind of fill in the gaps with clover. But the clover is taking over at the moment, so it'll really take over, and this will be a pure lush green clover plot, and the deer and turkey will start using it pretty immediately. So like I said, I'm going to spray this with the old grass out. I do have my eye protection. I'm going to cover my face, COVID season, and I have rubber gloves. Just when you're doing this stuff, I mean, it ain't going to kill you if you get a little bit on you, but it also kills the grass, so it's like it can't be that good for you. You know what I mean? So just wear protection. That's all I'm saying.
Well, we got a good jump on some work. I can't remember the last time we were doing any of this kind of stuff in April, so early April. I'll take it. You got to be ahead of the game, because if you get behind the game in the food plot world, it sucks you right in. And then you can't catch up. So, fortunate enough to have the nice weather we've had. Stuff's dry enough to work on in a lot of spots, so we're usually walking through snow in April still. One thing we learned about the borderline that we plant, it's, you know, annual grasses, tall annual grasses, but we're planting the borderline blend from Big Tine, and one of the most important things for us is we have to get it in as early as we possibly can, because our growing season is short up here, and as soon as the soil temp gets warm enough, it's got to get in. Otherwise these weeds come up and they outcompete it, because it takes 2 to 3 weeks for this stuff to germinate. It's a long germination process, but once it gets up and going, it can outcompete the weeds. It's got to get going first. So we've learned that it's got to be in the month of May, but the earlier the better. We plant it in June in years past, and it just doesn't have enough time to get to 10 to 12 feet. It'll get to 6 to 8, and then it kind of falls over with some of the snow. So we need it mature. We need it high, skyscraper high. And the only way for us to do that is to get it in early. And getting this stuff burned in the middle of April is going to be a huge help, because as soon as this dries out a ton, we're going to start turning it, fertilizing it, and as soon as we get good weather, we're going to get the borderline in and get it rolling, because it's crucial to have that borderline blocking our food plots to take the pressure off. So the process has started. It's a good couple days, but this should pay off huge in the next few weeks, getting this stuff in early.